Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I wanted to talk about 5 interesting and affordable watches that I've been taking a look at. Now, let me go ahead and define it up front. Affordable, I'm going to say, is anything under $500, and interesting is anything that I just think is particularly interesting. Now, I went to Island Watch to pull all of the pricing, so we had a consistent sort of what they actually sell for new versus listed retail prices, and I'll have a link in the show notes to Island Watch. It's not an affiliate link. I don't have any professional association with Island Watch. I don't make any money if you buy from them or buy from someone else, but I just thought it would be nice, so if you wanted to look them up yourself, you had an easy way to do it. And to keep things interesting, the way I've done it is I've got 5 watches. They'll all have mechanical movements, and I'm going to have them all be different brands and also different styles. So a chronograph, a dive watch, we'll have a dress watch, we'll have a field watch, and we'll have a pilot watch. So let's go ahead and let's start with the chronograph. And for that, I have chosen the Seagull 1963 hand-wind mechanical chronograph. Listed price is $329. I have seen this watch from time to time, particularly on Watch You Seek. It comes up on occasion as a really affordable and interesting watch. It's the only hand-wind mechanical movement that I've got in my list of 5 for you all. It's the Seagull hand-wind mechanical movement. So it's an in-house movement. And Seagull's got an interesting history because, as I understand it, they actually imported a lot of Swiss equipment into their factory pretty early on in their life cycle. And so the quality that came out of their company and continues to come out is actually quite high, despite the stereotypes that a lot of people run with other Chinese manufactured movements that end up in really low-cost watches, though these watches remain quite affordable. 42 millimeter case diameter, so not a particularly small watch, also not a particularly large watch. Chronographs often run larger, so I don't think that's really surprising. It is a stainless steel case, but the crystal is a hardened mineral crystal. I think Island Watch has this watch also available with a sapphire. I think it's $50 more, so that would have stayed compliant with my rule of keeping it under $500. However, you know, the Moonwatch from Omega with its hardlex, non-sapphire approach, also a hand-wind watch for that matter, makes me think, you know what, we can have a little bit of flexibility here on the chronograph, and so that's what I've gone ahead and run with. Let's do the dive watch next, and for that, I have chosen what perhaps is, of these 5, the one I see around the most, and that's the Orient Kamasu red dial version dive watch. So, I always thought the red dial is really, really distinct. I think the image I've got up on the screen doesn't actually do it justice. It seems to actually play with the light really well in various lighting conditions, especially outdoors. So if you do a quick search online, I'm sure you will find a lot of people that have wrist-shotted this because it seems, maybe it's not the most popular of these 5 that I've got listed. Maybe it's just that the red dial is so unique because I've never owned a red dial watch. They don't seem all that popular, but of the red dial ones, this is like a high point. I mean, the next one I can think of that plays with the light like this that I've ever seen get a lot of attention is one of the Fume ones from H. Moser, which is not affordable at all. In terms of specifications, I think this is pretty impressive. 200 meters of water resistance. So from my standard, that's it's meeting a true expectation for a dive watch there. Almost a 42 millimeter case diameter, so larger watch. It is a sapphire crystal this time, so you do have that nice scratch resistance there. We've got a stainless steel case. It comes on a bracelet. I don't know the quality of Orient's bracelets, but hey, I think dive watches look good on bracelets, so I'm glad that that's the case here. And if you don't like that, it's 22 millimeter lug width, so real easy to find alternative straps for it. And I'd say the other thing is the movement. So the movement is the Orient F6922. So that's an in-house movement as well as, the Seagull had an in-house, and here we are again with an in-house. In addition to being automatic, it does have hand-winding capabilities, and it does hack. So if you care about being able to set the second hand exactly to where you want it, this watch will accommodate you. And price-wise for it, $269. So almost only a little over half of what my target threshold was for these watches. Let's go ahead and do the pilot watch next, and that is the most expensive one of the 5 I'm going to present to you. And this is the Laco Altenburg Type A style Flieger looking watch. $460 is the price. Now, You can find Type A. So going pilot watch, there are a lot of choices. You can go Flieger, you can go a variety of other styles. And I think Flieger is a very popular, very clean look, especially if you're not actually a pilot and want to just use it for day-to-day functionality. I personally am partial to Type B Flieger dials. However, I think Type A, based off just the sheer number I see online, are far more popular with most people. And it's a very attractive watch. It's real easy to read. For civilian use, I think it's probably the better option for most people versus a B. But, aside from that, we're talking about an automatic movement again here as well. They list it as the Laco 21. However, this movement is a Miyota. They just brand it differently in Laco speak. So it's got that going for it. 39 millimeter case size, so it's more on the smaller end, especially when you consider historic Fliegers. However, I think because Fliegers are so much dial, not much bezel, I think you'll find that it looks really good. Really well loomed from all the images I could tell. That seems to be the general rule for most Fliegers. Again, that's something that I think is probably really attractive. 50 meters water resistance, pretty standard that I've seen for various Flieger watches. So something that you don't need to worry about getting stuck in the rain or anything with, but I probably wouldn't go swimming with it. You got sapphire crystal, so you've got that nice scratch resistance there. And I believe this does have an exhibition case back as well, and then comes on this leather sort of riveted band, but I believe it's 18 millimeter lug width. So again, real easy sizing to find alternatives for. The reason why I've gone with this, because you can find Type A Flieger styles well under $460, is the heritage. So there were 5 companies that the German government originally approached to do Flieger builds for them. Laco is one of them, and I believe easily the most affordable one. So I'm going with this because it gives you a chance to have a tie-in to the heritage of the actual Fliegers. You are paying a bit for that brand history. However, you are saving by not going with like the Swiss movement versions, which with Laco, I believe, are over $1,000. They have quartz as well as an alternative. They'll save you about $100 off of this, but it gives you the mechanical feel and that tie-in historically to a brand that's always been associated with Flieger watches. But there are a whole bunch of other Type A Fliegers out there if you want to save even more money. Now, my fourth watch will be the dress watch, and I've gone with the Seiko, I think it's pronounced Presage, Cocktail Time. $319. I like the radial pattern of the dial. Dress watches are meant to be very subtle, not call a lot of attention to themselves, but obviously you want to go with something that you want to look at, and I think this dial is interesting enough that would meet that need. It comes on a leather band. Dress watches should come on leather bands or something that looks like leather bands. Steel bracelets are not really for dress watches. Yeah, I wear steel bracelets with suits all the time, but I'm trying to be a little technical here and give you something that might quote unquote be a real dress watch. Now, we're taking some liberties with that in and of itself because the sizing on this watch is not insignificant. It's 40.5 millimeters in diameter. That's fairly hefty for a dress watch. However, for the modern era, that sizing tends to be more attractive to people. I think it would accommodate pretty well larger wrists that want a smaller size for them. Dress watch in particular. It's a little under 12 millimeters thick, so it's not the thinnest movement either, but it is an automatic, it's not the thinnest watch either, but it has an automatic movement, so that's going to mandate a certain level of thickness. Uses the Seiko 4R35 automatic movement, so in-house movement here, self-winding, obviously because it's an automatic, but it also features hand winding and hacking, so you get all those features. 50 meters of water resistance, so again, kind of like the Pilot watch, it's okay to get wet, just don't go swimming in it. And it's got a Hardlex crystal. That's probably the biggest sacrifice we're making with this to keep the pricing down, but I think it's an acceptable given that this is a dress watch, and ideally you're not going to be wearing it in a lot of scratch-friendly environments. And the final watch we're going to do is a field watch. Now, there are a slew of affordable field watches out there. By definition, a field watch is meant to be practical. I don't know if there are any luxury field watches. If someone knows of one, like one that's over $1,000, link it in the comment section because I'd like to read about some company. Surely there has been one or more that has taken the idea of a field watch and said, you know what, let's go ahead and make it a luxury watch. But generally speaking, we're talking about watches that are mil-spec or inspired by mil-spec. Spec watches, and Hamilton's khaki field is probably the most famous. I believe you can even get those under $500 on sale, so that's always an option, but I wanted to go a little bit off the beaten path here. So for $189, I've gone with the Islander automatic field watch, and I've gone with the white dial version here. They have other color schemes on their colorwise on their website, but Again, it meets the basics that I've come to associate with a field watch. It's got the 24-hour markings, the military time markings on the inner side of the bezel. That's something that's like that Hamilton field. There are other field watch dial designs, of course, but this kind of goes back to that Vietnam War era through the 80s, I think, of the U.S. military style, which is the one I'm particularly partial to. I actually like the black dial variant a lot, but I've gone with the white because we already have a black dial in this assortment thanks to the Laco Flieger watch we talked about. So in terms of other specifications, this uses the NH36 automatic movement, which also allows hand-winding hacking. And those NH movements are Seiko's. So like you heard about the 4R with the cocktail time. That's how they brand their movements when they're in-house to them. And then they use the NHs when they sell them to third-party providers like this. So, but it's a Seiko movement. 39 millimeter case size. That actually is, well, to a lot of people, it's probably on the smaller end. That's actually on the larger end for field watches. There are a number of mil-spec field watches that actually go with 34 millimeter diameters. So 39, I think, is a quite respectable size for a modern approach to a field watch. This does have sapphire crystal. It's known to be anti-reflective, so that's nice for using out in the sun. 100 meters of water resistance. That's actually really good for a field watch. A lot of field watches I've looked at that are mil-spec don't go to 100 meters of water resistance. And then the band, it comes on a nylon band with it's got a leather strap backing, but 20 millimeter lug width, so you can easily change that out if you want to. And the case itself is stainless steel. Those are the 5 watches that I've come up with that I thought were interesting and affordable. If you were to buy them all as a collection, I went ahead and ran the numbers, and I got $1,566. So for under $1,600, you get 5 watches representing 5 different brands with 5 different styles, dress, field, pilot, dive, chronograph. Then you also have a lot of mix within that. So for example, the Seiko a dress watch, the Orient dive watch, and the Seagull chronograph all have in-house movements. So you've got that. The Seagull and the Laco, I think, have really interesting heritage angles that you can run with in terms of the Seagull and, being important to the Chinese military and how they set up their factory. And then Laco, of course, being one of the original 5 Flieger manufacturers. So really interesting tie-ins there. Overall, I just think it presents an interesting breadth of horology with a very affordable price point. So anyway, those are my 5 affordable watches that I think are interesting. And as noted, I haven't owned any of these, so I'd love feedback in the comment section. Those of you who have had experience with these watches and what you think of them. But I think more interesting, I'd like to know other suggestions for people that are watching the video. What should they be looking at in terms of affordable watches? And if you want to include quartz or do it a different way, that's fine with me. The only thing I would ask is if we could keep the pricing under $500 new. So that we kind of have an apples to apples on what we're saying is affordable in the context of this video, at least. And that's it. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It helps the channel out. If you'd like to be notified when I release new videos, just click the subscribe button. YouTube handles the rest. And otherwise, have a great day.